Inset day.
We've got half term, it's a week after.
We've got inset day.
Oh,
Do you know other children might have inset days as well?
Friday, is it?
Yeah.
15th.
What about after half
After
term?
half term.
Yeah.
I should be, I didn't bring my diary with me, but I...
Is that okay with everybody as
What
well?
is the grade, yeah?
After half term.
That would be the 1st of March, the first Friday. 1st of March, that would be the first Friday.
So when you're going to do your promoting self-esteem?
That's all right. We can
You're
we
right.
can swap around.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we've got a lot of work to do now. That's fine. 1st of March. So we're here
Oh,
for
that
the
would be
1st of
great.
March. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Make sure you lot are here. Whoever's not here, you know, you can change the day.
You two better be here. We're doing it because
We'll
If you don't
definitely.
turn up, you'll be back by then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So the next session is going to be the 1st of March. We'll be looking at behaviours. So what I want you to do is actually come back, because I know during half term you're going to get some behaviours,
Actually, that's a good idea.
especially during half term, right? So make sure you record those and you bring them back and you say, Maxine, this is what he did. So then we can work together in order to work out why that happened. All right? So half term, so 1st of March is when we're going to be coming back. Okay, so we've got, what I want to do now, I don't always want to just specifically talk about autism because it's not always about autism. Sorry, can you, it's not always just about autism, it's about parenting children and giving you the skills to kind of manage those children that have additional needs. And not start to think that because they've got additional needs, we have to parent them differently. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you've got a child in your house that does not have additional needs, the same rule should apply. The child who has the additional needs should be able to understand that this is my baseline. This is my baseline, right? Everybody, whoever goes below it is going to get punished. Whoever goes above it, we're all right. But nobody, the rule, we all have a baseline. We all have boundaries. We all have house rules. And that is what we would want the children to abide by. We all have house rules. Simple example. Simple. Because I've worked with many Asian families. You go in, you take your shoes off. You would expect your children to do that, right? So that's your baseline. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is your baseline. So there's certain things that you need to make sure that you have got as your baseline and you're not going to accept below that.
No exceptions.
No. Just because you're not talking, it doesn't mean that you can't see that your shoes need to come off.
True.
Yeah? I mean, I go into homes and I say, do you want me to take your shoes off? And they'll say, yes, Maxine, no. Or if I just do it instinctively, as a mark of respect. So that's what you're teaching your children. And what you have to remember is that you're their model. You're modelling the behaviour that you're expecting them to do.
You
Yes?
can't tell them, but not do it yourself.
Absolutely. All right?
Dinner time's at 6, but you're sitting there, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Bedtime now. But, you go to bed, not me. Okay. We're going to do true or false. We're going to talk about what autism is, right? I'm not going to go through all these slides because I don't think they're all pertinent, but I'm going to go, as I go along, I'm going to pick up from you guys which ones I think I really need to talk about and the ones we need to extend on, all right?
Asking you to start by going, this is what autism is.
Right.
Although it's quite
What I need to find out is what you know about autism. So this is a little game and it gives me a starting point. So I'm going to split you up so you guys can work together. You three work together. You work together. And you three work together. You three, yeah. And then you two at the end. So okay. So it's true or false, right? True, one side, false. If there's any that you're not sure about, you put them in the middle. We're going to talk about all of them anyway. All right? I need a baseline to start from as to where you guys are. Yeah? Right. You three are right. Let me just explain a bit about, have you finished in the corner? Yes. Okay. Just about the early bird program that I do, and I did touch on it briefly. It helps parents understand their autism, the child's autism, yeah? And it gives them structured, positive interactions in which communication can help, as well as preempt any problematic behaviours and handle those that do occur more effectively. So this program is 12 weeks long, two and a half hours for the 12 weeks. So it's on a Tuesday, right?
Where is it?
It's normally in Indigo Project, which is at Granville Road. It's a Bernardo's project.
Bernardo.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't always, there are trainers there, but I'm like the only one in social services, so you might not get me, so you better lap everything up. Right, to get onto the course, if you feel that you need it, then you can make a referral to Bernardo's itself, all right? Now you need to be mindful, because obviously early bird is for under 5s, early bird plus is for over 5s up to 9. Now sometimes when I do it, I stretch it because I recognise that parents are having difficulties, and I would take a 10-year-old or I would take a 6-year-old on the early bird programme, because I need to work with where the parent is at. All right, so this is what the early bird does. Now I haven't got any handouts. Somebody asked me about handouts, but this is a training, so I wouldn't give you these handouts anyway. All right, but as part of the early bird program and the early bird plus, if you got on, you would get one of these books here, which is the parent book, and it is invaluable. I'm telling you, professionals want this book. They're sneaking me down, Maxine, please, can I buy it? And no, you can't, because it's a parent book. Because the thing is, parents have this and they go back to it when there are difficulties. All right, it's a really good resource.
Sorry, just one
Yeah, go on.
If you can't go on the course, because my daughter's 13 going on 14, and you said early bird plus is 5 to 9, you stretch possibly, then how would I be able to get my hands on the book?
Well, you won't be able to, because this book is
Only for those.
yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
I will see if there's any, but the thing is, you would have to pay for it.
Yep.
But to be honest, it works better with the course.
With the course, I know.
Yeah, it works better with the course. There are other books. I'll bring some other books next week. Is that? Oh no, not next week.
Next session.
Right. So you see, now you lot got me confused. The National Autistic Society Early Bird Program, it offers a positive approach. Right? It's a positive approach to living with a child with a diagnosis of autism spectrum. It empowers parents to share experiences and support each other to understand why, in order to identify how best to help. All right? So it's an empowerment program. It's a parent program. So it's not for the child, it's for parents. Okay? So if you feel that you could benefit from it, then you need, next time I will bring the details of the person that you can make the referral to. Yeah? Right, myths and facts. Okay, what have we got? Have we got the thing? These are the myths. So these are the ones that are not true. All people with autism are good at maths, arts and music. Right? They might not be on there, but yeah, we're getting the idea. Once speech begins, other difficulties disappear. Now, when parents say to me, Maxine is not talking, I just want him to talk and then I'll know what's wrong, right? It's not always true, okay? Because they may never speak, but they will always communicate. And how they communicate sometimes is through their behaviour. So it's about how we understand that behaviour, all right? So a child may not always say, it's hurting, right? So we will never know if they're hurting. Some children on the spectrum have a high pain threshold. So, it's not uncommon for children to stand next to a boiling hot radiator and get burnt and not feel anything. All right? So let's not think that once they start talking, everything's going to be okay, because it's not. Autism is autism. They will always be autistic, whether they speak or not. And sometimes what I say to parents openly, when they say, oh, I wish you would talk, I say, you be careful what you wish for, okay? Because let me tell you something. You see those children who are Asperger's, they will talk forever, right? But they're talking about their own thing. They're not having a two-way conversation. They're talking about their own thing. So be careful what you wish for, because some parents said to me, Maxine, I just wish she would shut up. I just need some peace. Because they would talk and talk and talk, and you think to yourself, oh great, she's talking. You say, how was your day at school? Did you see that train? The blue train that we saw this afternoon? You're thinking, train? What train? They're talking about their own thing. All right? So they will always be autistic, yes? So let's be mindful. They will always have their difficulties. It's how we work with them to ensure that they reach their full potential. All right? Only children can be diagnosed with autism. No. These slides have changed, by the way. Some of them are the same because they changed my stick. So only children can be diagnosed. No, adults are being diagnosed as well, right? Adults that want to know. Adults that feel that something's not quite right. Adults that can identify with their own child. I know what it's like, because when you shout at him, it hurts my ears too. Yes? So it's important about keeping a tone of voice for them. Children with autism are just badly behaved. No, they're not. They have a condition. Autism is due to bad parenting. Are you all bad parents? I don't hear nothing.
No.
Autism is a middle class disorder. That's a lie.
Exactly.
Exactly. But sometimes these myths and facts, we just need to disperse them really. The facts are, autism is a developmental disorder involving the brain. So, our children think very differently. Our children manage things very differently. Okay? They take longer to process things. Okay? Now, when we have a child that's probably got ADHD as well, there is, sometimes a lot of children get diagnosed with ADHD and autism. Maybe because you might see some of the behaviours overlapping. Yeah? So it's about how we're going to work that out, when I come back. If there's a behaviour that I'm concerned about, then I can say to you, that's because of that. Do you understand? So you may have some behaviours that overlap with ADHD and autism. But there are a lot of comorbid behaviours that happen, like ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, all those kind of things are kind of linked in with autism. OCD, yeah? OCD, yeah? So, if you've met one individual with autism, you probably have, but don't know, yeah? Because some people who have autism really kind of are, especially adults, because they've lived with it all their life, they kind of tend to be able to manage it. You understand? So it's more out now than what it was. When I first started training in autism, it was like, what is this autism thing? What is it? And it became more prevalent, especially when I was going into schools, that the children would start behaving in a way where teachers were not able to manage and they didn't understand. Right? So, and the thing is, I know I shouldn't say this, but I love when you've got boys in particular who will go in and are quite boisterous, as they like to say, and they start displaying their behaviours because they start to take note. You see, when we've got the placid ones that go in and they'll sit down, they'll do their work, they conform, but what teachers and support staff don't realise is that they've had to program themselves to manage in the situation, right, for 6 hours of that day. So when they come home now and they're blowing, right, the volcano's erupted, right, it's because, I'm at home now, I can do this, and I can be myself. I can switch the lights on and off. I can run outside in my shorts. I don't have to put my coat on because it's cold. Yeah, because in school it's like, everybody come put your coat on, everybody line up. Yes, it's very structured, right? And not everybody can learn like that. Children who are on the spectrum do love structure and routine, don't get me wrong. However, that's why you need to have a little bit of structure and routine at home as well. Okay, so obviously when they come in, it's like, okay, you decide what you're going to do. You need to let them know what they're doing. Children on the spectrum need to know what is expected of them. That is why in school it's so structured that they know what they're going to do next. You need to do that at home as well. They need to know that 8 o'clock is bedtime. However, as parents, you need to start winding down at 7. Yes? So there's no need at 7:45, we're jumping on the trampoline. There's no point in doing that, because you're setting yourself up to fail. I know many families that are sleep deprived, and no matter how I say to them, what's your bedtime routine? Oh, Maxie, no, she's very good, we have the bath at 7:30, and then she wants a drink of milk, and then she wants this, and she'll go upstairs, she'll be up there for 2 hours, then she comes back down. I said, comes back down for what? She's hungry. Hungry for what? So what happened to dinner time? Remember what I said to you, your baseline.
Yeah.
If dinner time is at 6:30, if they don't eat at 6:30, you ain't getting nothing else, you know. You're not getting anything else. I think you need to be that firm. Because if you don't change, they will know what button to press.
But then there's this thing about neglect. Neglect.
What? Because
they're going to bed hungry.
Listen, and I say this at every training. I have done this training for years. I've trained many a parent with many an autistic child, and no child with autism has died on my watch of hunger. None of them have died. Seriously, I've not had one death of an autistic child.
I think what you're worried about is being referred to.
Being referred to social services because the child's neglect. But are you neglecting her though? Are you
But
neglecting
you see,
her?
they focus. I've got a social worker, my daughter has, and this is her third one. So the one she's got at the moment, but she's leaving at the end of February, you might know her. She's Catherine Peter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she mentioned that you'd be coming, and she said she would tell you I was on this and that. She said you might be able to do a home visit, no promises, whatever. But it's just kind of like, you want to put these things in place, and then you just think, how's it going to be viewed by the school and whatever like that? Because the child will learn eventually if you put those things in place, and you be firm and you stick to it, stick to your guns. So if you give in and they see that, the routine goes a bit,
And before you know,
Dinner
you're
is
following their routine.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it is.
So
Listen.
obviously it takes a long time for them to get it though, because you can't expect the child to be like,
Oh gosh,
within
no.
2 or 3
No.
days they're like,
Listen, how are you going to change behaviours that you've allowed for 13 years in a heartbeat?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm
and
saying?
It's like everyone's expecting it to be like
No,
that.
no,
And you're like, come
no,
and see my home, come into my
Come
life,
and live my life. You see, that's
not
why I say
easy.
to you, I know, that's what I said,
know.
I will give you the tools,
Yeah.
right? I can never stand here and say to you, I know what it's like, because I don't. I can come into your home and I can say, right, you know what, we need to change this, we need to change it. And parents will look at me like, because the child's sitting next to me and they're like looking at me, because I'm telling you why the child reacts that way, because the child knows I get them. The child knows that I get them. This woman knows what I'm about. Right? So a lot of the times, the behaviours that you guys will get, I would never get it. Or when I walk in, you see them children stand to attention like, oh, shucks.
Yeah.
No, I'm so serious.
But all children always, push with
They will
parents.
push with
They grow up
parents.
with
But the thing is,
when it's a teacher or yourself, they won't be
the thing
like
is,
that. They're
Zainab,
like, I can't
that's
do that.
their job.
Yeah.
No, seriously, that is the child's job.
Yeah.
Let me
With
see
needs
which
or
button I
not.
can press, whether they've got needs or not. Let me see what I can get today.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Let me see what it is I can get today.
Yeah.
All right? Let me see how far I can push her. Right? That is their job. Seriously.
Little cry and meltdown.
The little cry in the meltdown. You know how many children I've kind of said, excuse me, and I've just walked over it. I just thought, I'm not even entertaining
If they get
that.
a reaction,
Right.
that's why they do it.
Exactly.
And then it's like their program.
So, those are the things that you need to think about
Nip in
with
the
your
bud.
children.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they've got additional needs, we need to start thinking, right, do you know what, how are we going to get this right? And it's really important that the adults in the house are singing on the same song sheet.
Yeah.
You see, if you're trying to be strict, when I go into a house, right,
Granddad is like, it's all right.
let me tell you something, when I go into a house, right, the first question I ask, right, who's a good cop and who's a bad cop? Let's have it.
That's true.
So then you normally see the dad sit down there. Well, I don't like to hear him cry. I said, okay. All right. So that's the question I ask. Who's a good cop and who's a bad cop? Because there is always a good cop and a bad cop. I was a good cop and a bad cop. Do you know what I mean? But I had my levels, and my boys knew. Right, we don't cross that. I mean, where I come from, we kind of, you get the look, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing something wrong, you're gonna,
Be still.
right? You're just staring.
You're on the edge.
And it got to the point, one time I stared at my son and he said, I don't know why you're looking at me like that. And I thought, right, so the look's not going to work anymore. So now I have to change my tactics.
You've got how many children?
I've got two,
Two
25 and 21. So yes, they've been through, they understand autism because they've been through this journey with me. So yeah, because they always say, That's one of yours, isn't it? He's autistic, right?
Yeah.
And I said, "Mum, stop pointing." No, but he is, Mum, because they've been exposed to it. To be fair, they've been exposed, so they kind of know, which is good because. You know, I've had autistic children come to my home before, and they kind of really engage with them in a way that their mum does, because they've learned from me. So, okay, so it can be accompanied by differing degrees of learning disability. Okay, so we're going to have those children that are very bright, very, very bright, right? However, socially,
Yes.
and that's where it falls down. So hopefully we're going to see on here how the autism is and how it works. It's a lifelong condition, guys. They're not going to grow out of autism. It's a lifelong condition, seriously. All right? And this is, when I do programs, this is where parents struggle, because they expect me as the autism social worker to come in and say, Maxine, how can I help him get rid of this? How can I do this? How can I do this? Is a lifelong condition. This is what we're living with. Okay, what I said in the beginning is that I've always been for early intervention. Yes. The earliest we get in there, the better it is for that child. The earlier we can get in, we can start setting the rules, the boundaries, getting speech and language therapists, getting parents to understand how to communicate with their child. All right? So the earlier we get in, the better it is for that child. The later, I'm not saying things are impossible when it's later. However, how can we change behaviours that have been ingrained for 13 years? We've got more of a chance when they're 3, okay? When they have a meltdown, as parents, you're able to put them under your arm and move them out of danger. 13, I think they'll be lifting you up, to be fair. Because some of the 13-year-olds are quite big. Yes? Now, in terms of when we think about life skills for these children, right, it is a long-term condition. However, we need to think seriously about the life skills we're teaching them. For argument's sake, toileting, yes? Now, as parents, if you are willing to continue to wipe your children's bottoms at 16, go ahead. I know I would not be prepared to do that. So I need to be teaching them. Okay? I need to be teaching them. If you want them to be wearing nappies at 16, 17, what you have to recognise is that if you want support, not every support worker is going to want to change that nappy. All right? I'm being real. Okay? I've been a support worker. I know my limitations. So, I don't do vomit very well. However, if it's a child, I will, do my best, right? I'm not changing nappies on walking people. No way, right? So I encourage parents, yes, you need to start the toilet training as early as possible. Because let me tell you something, once these children get it, they get it. Seriously, they really get it. And it's very liberating for them and for you. All right, so I know a mum, she had 3 children under 5, 2 of them are autistic, right? The first one, she said, I toilet trained him, because at that time she didn't even realise he was autistic. She just toilet trained him. You see the thing about being just a normal child, let me just toilet train him. She said it took me ages, but I couldn't understand. She didn't know why, but she said, I just carried on and on and on. He's fully toilet trained, that's the oldest. The next one down's autistic, and he is not toilet trained. She says, right, I don't care, by the end of this year, this child's going to be toilet trained. She's getting there. Yeah, she's getting there. The oldest child that I've worked with in terms of toilet training is 19.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a man, he's a man.
He's a man, right? So you understand, a man poo and child poo is very different poo, yeah? Right. Right, so 19. Everyone's face is like, wow. But credit to his mum, she said, I couldn't keep him at home anymore, so she said he had to go into a residential unit, and she said, but I wanted him toilet trained before he went, because she said, Maxine, that's his own,
dignity.
Why would I want somebody else to come and change my son?
Dignity.
Yeah, it's his dignity. She said, and she said, we did it. She said, I worked with the school and we did it. So it's not impossible. However, you don't want to get to that point. you want them toilet trained before, because you have to think, for a child with a disability, not even just an autistic child, what is it like for somebody else to come in and change you? What is it like for somebody else to come in and do your personal care?
It's very invasive.
Yeah, it's, you know, what is it like for you? You know, we don't know because we are able to manage it. We do it for our children. However, we have to think, if we're not there, if we are no longer there, nobody is going to care for your child the way that you do. Let me tell you the truth. No one is going to care for them the way that you do, because we all have standards. I got standards, right? And my children know my standards, and they think, all right, okay. So they've grown up knowing what it is they're supposed to do at what time and when, how, however. Children who have disabilities, and autism is a disability, right? They don't have that understanding. So we may say we want respite, you're going to get somebody else in, and they're going to look after your child, right? They're not going to do it the same way. They're not going to do it the same way. They're not. Yeah, so be mindful of that. So it's a lifelong condition, right? However, we have to think about how we are going to work with our children in order for them to reach their potential. All right? Because every single one of them has the potential. We have a singer in the house. We've got ones that love music. We've got creativity. So we need to tap into that, yes, in order to make them reach their full potential. Because I remember one time my dad said to me, I just want her to play tennis. And I'm thinking, she's 5. And she had no sense of anything. She was non-verbal. He goes, I just want her to play tennis. So I had to sit him down and I said, you want her to play tennis? And he said, yeah. He said, Maxine, I just want her to be able to make a living. And if it's tennis that she can do, then that's what I want. Right? Some of our dreams are our dreams, because we have dreams for our children, and you're going to see a video, right, later on. And it's a mum that I trained on an early bird course who came in a total wreck. And she will tell you, I was the one that struggled, right? But I won't tell you, because I could tell you that video all the time. But you will see that later on. But because we do have dreams for our children, right? We don't know what card we're going to be served. Do you understand what I'm saying? You guys probably never thought that you would have a child with a disability, and you just start to think, how do I manage? But you do. You do. And you have to want to, and you have to think, right, okay, I need to make them as independent as possible. Even if it means I teach them how to make a sandwich, you know your child's not going to starve. Don't care if it's jam every day. Don't care. I have a friend who has a brother who's, when she told me about him, I said, he's autistic, right? She goes, oh no, I don't know, I don't know. He's like 20, 23. I said, I'm sure he's autistic. So she said no, she wasn't sure. Anyway, both parents died. He had to go into a residential unit. And it was at that point she realised he couldn't do anything, because they did it for him. They did it for him to a degree that the dad passed away in the house, and the boy was the man was in the house with his father, wasn't able to call the police or the ambulance, right? And I think in the end he called his sister and they went down there, but he'd been gone a long time because he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. Yeah? So life skills are important. Life skills. And I know to some families it's about academics. However, if your child gets one GCSE, that's one GCSE. It might be GCSE in drama because they're creative. Do you understand? Right? Don't knock it. Academics is not everything. No. Seriously. It really,
and
really
feed
isn't
themselves,
everything.
wash themselves.
From they can feed, they can toilet,
self-care.
they can do their own self-care, right? They're able to, go over the road and buy milk so they can come back and have cereal.
Like cross the road safely, wear a dangerous
All the life skills are important, all right? So autism is genetically linked. There is an increased rate of occurrence in other family members now. I'm not saying to you that everyone here has autism. I'm not saying that everybody here has family members who are autistic. However, what we have to think about is what we have to think about. Is it true? Yeah. What we have to think about is it may not be in this immediate family now. Okay? It may be Uncle Tom who used to sit down on the veranda in Jamaica and count ants. And when I used to visit him, I used to think, I said to my mum, why is he counting ants? No, it's not a real story, I'm just making it up. Why is he counting ants? It might be the odd person that reading the newspaper upside down.
Extended family.
Right? Extended family. If you go back and you start talking to your extended family, they will say, well, you know what, to be honest, your husband didn't really talk till he was 7. And you think to yourself, thanks. I know now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, he didn't talk till he was 7 because there's developmental delay. That wasn't kind of diagnosed like that back then, because what they call autism is the refrigerator syndrome, where parents who weren't attached, mothers in particular, were not attached to their children at birth. All right, so it is genetically linked, and it's somewhere. It's somewhere. First, every time I say this, parents say, no, my husband doesn't have autism. I don't have autism. Okay, listen. We all have some kind of trait. Yeah? We all have something going on. Seriously. We all have a trait of autism somewhere. You know, whether it be like OCD, you know, like things to be clean, whether it be like, you know, you like the light switches to be a certain... my friend, who I used to train with, the light switches had to be upstairs, had to be the same, right? So if it was one was down, one, she'd go downstairs, change that one, and she'd come back upstairs. Yeah. So we've all got a little bit of it with us, all right? So don't go around blaming the men. Yeah.
I was going to ask you what causes autism.
What causes it? Right. We're going
Is
to go
it
into that now.
is it just genetic? And that's it. That's the only cause.
Well, the thing is,
Is there many other?
it's a developmental disorder of the brain. That primarily, people have said to me, you know what, Maxine, up until they had the MMR, they were fine. Right? That's the argument that comes up at every early birth program. When they had the MMR, that's fine. However, one parent was on the course and she said, well, he had them separately and he's still autistic. Right? Now, my own theory, and I don't want you to take it as gospel, I just think not every child is able to take a triple vaccine. That's what I think. That's what I feel. Not every child can do it. Not every child is able to. That's a lot of vaccine for a little baby.
So what age is that given again?
Is it 6 months? 6 months. MMR?
MMR about 6.
It's about 6 months. Yeah. But I've worked with families that have had it, and some families that haven't had it, and some families that have had it separately. So I can't tell you what the cause is. So listen, they're not going to link it to MMR, are they? How much people would have to pay out? Do you know what I mean? I think to myself.
Do you think there was an increase then after the MMR? Is there anything that states that?
Evidence. I haven't seen any data to say that there's been an increase in it after the MMR, right? But when I sit down with parents and I really talk to them and I say, right, when did you know that something wasn't quite right? When did you know that? Because you're the best people, right? Now you're going to get very different answers from first-time parents who really don't know, they're new to it, they followed it by the book, don't have extended family about, so they may not notice certain things. And then they will say it was the MMR. After the MMR, he started to A, B, and C. Then you get some parents that will just say, you know what, like the family I'm working with at the moment, she says he never slept, Maxine. And he still don't sleep now. She said he was always a bad sleeper.
So you might know.
So you might
6 months.
Yes,
as well.
yes,
Really?
yes,
Okay.
yes. You don't have to wait to 6 months to know. Some things, you might not be getting the eye contact. They might not smile. The little developmental things. Do you understand? So that's why I always go back to parents and I say, when did you notice something? When did you? She goes, oh, well, I used to take him to playgroup and he just used to play on his own. And she said, I thought that was okay because he was playing and I was glad he was occupied. Do you know what I mean? So, there is always something. It's not just about the MMR. All right? So the autism spectrum, this is what it looks like. So this is your spectrum, okay? So over here, we've got a child that's severely autistic. All right, when I say severely, I'm talking about children non-verbal, maybe banging their heads, you know, self-harming, you know, basically in a world of their own. All right, in the middle, right? No, I won't say the middle. Over here, you're going to have the children who are talkers. This is the Asperger's children who are high functioning, right? They call them high functioning. Now, the thing is with these children, they often get left behind. The reason I say that is because they're able to go into school, they're able to conform, they're able to do their exams, they're able to get Ofsted to get them a good, because they're integrated the children into a mainstream setting. This is fantastic. Ofsted looks at that, but what they're not looking at is the social aspect of this child, right? And then what happens is the children train themselves to kind of study. They go to university, but they're still not socialising, right? And socialising forms part of this autism. I know a young man who was doing just that. He was not diagnosed. He's not autistic. Well, he's questionable in my view. He's got dyspraxia and dyslexia. And what happened was that wasn't diagnosed until he was doing his masters. And the only reason was that the professor that was teaching him, when he finished and he got his pay, he said, that's not right, because he's been okay all this time. What happened here? And then they made him redo it, and that's when they realised. So can you see how a young person or an individual can actually hold it together, in a society, right? Go as far as a master's, and then, because you've got to remember, he's got to compact all this thing into his head, and he's mastered that, because that's what they do, they master it, right? And sometimes in schools, I've worked with a young girl who said to me, I don't need to go to school because I know everything. And she did. She really did. She knew everything. She said to me, Maxine, she said, what that teacher's teaching them, it's not right anyway. And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, right, listen. We need to go to school. She said it's not right. She goes, the other day I had to say to the teacher that, Miss, that's not right. I said, oh my God. Do you know what I mean? So they fight to go to school because they're not learning everything. They don't feel like they're being pushed. And then on top of that, they haven't got any friends. And some people and children, teachers don't understand them. They don't get it.
My daughter's been diagnosed with Asperger's.
Okay.
So many of the things you've just said sound exactly like as if you're talking about my daughter. She hates school. She keeps questioning why she has to go. She says that so much of it isn't relevant. She's just picked her options as well that she's studying. They're in the areas that she enjoys. She likes music. She wants to do like graphic design. She wanted to do computing, but the school said only children that have done like a pre-test for computing. If they get 100 out of 100, they really
Now, do you see what I'm saying about academics? Do you see what I'm saying about academics?
She was so sad.
Really
She
not
I really want to do it.
No,
they put me in geography, and I don't want to do geography. And I battled, and now she's not doing geography, but she is doing not computing, but she is doing graphic.
Because I never understand how they let young people choose their options. They're like, right, okay, so there's this line, you can have one out this line, you can have one out there, and you can have one out
decision.
Right. So I look at the line and I said, but my son don't like nothing in that line.
Yes.
Right? But he likes 2 in this line. So what's going on? That is so.
And they're like, no.
Yeah, no, because obviously they don't like that.
No, exactly.
Yeah? Okay. So over this side we've got high functioners, yes? So what I would say to parent on the course is, where do you think your child is on this spectrum? Bearing in mind this is the ones that are quite severely autistic, and these are the ones who are, so these are low functioners and these are high functioners. So a lot of parents would say, maybe about here in the middle, maybe around here, right? Or maybe around here. But what we do, we take into the factors, are they speaking, right? What their behaviour's like, and what are they like socially? Yeah? So when we move on to the next slide, right, so the social differences. So with the children autistic, right, The social interaction, they're not good at initiating, let's play together. Yeah? They're more, I'm going to sit in that corner with my little piece of string and I'm just going to turn it up. Because that string is not going to come back and talk to me. I'm in control of that string. Okay? In terms of joint attention, they need to be taught these things. So anything on a social interaction level, they need to be taught. How many times they go and play, go and play. Right? And you push them off to go and play with so the child standing there like, play? What does that mean? They don't know what play is. We have to teach them to play. So, as part of this program, when I do this program, I say to the parents, right, I need you to do a two-way interaction with your child. I'm coming to video it, and I get, right? I'm coming to video it, right? And we're going to take it back to the class, and we're going to look at it together, right? Because we as adults have forgotten how to play. Our idea of play is, here's my phone. Am I lying?
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Here's my tablet. Right? That's idea of play.
And they might sit with them, but they
When
remote
you
for the
give
TV.
this to an autistic child, they're like, I haven't got to talk to nobody.
Yeah.
I haven't got to do anything. It's me and this screen. When I get upset, I bang it on the floor. Screen breaks. Parent says to me, Maxine, he's broken my phone. It cost me £500. I say, why has he got your £500 phone? I'm not giving my child my £500 phone. Furthermore, I'm not even having a £500 phone. Right? Let's get it right. We need to go back to basics. Yes? I was playing with a little boy yesterday, autistic. I got 2 pieces of cardboard, right? I was very creative. I made a bridge in the house. And let me tell you, schools say, we can't keep him engaged for no more than 5 minutes. He won't do 5 minutes. He's really hard to engage. My little friend was playing with that bridge and cars, and we were playing together for over half an hour. He had a ball. And his mum was like watching, and she was videoing, because part of the course is to video. And she was like, she goes, Maxine, this is amazing.
What
right?
kind of
because I get him.
What kind of courses it is?
What that I'm doing,
Yeah.
it's an American model. It's called Floor Time.
Okay.
So I'm training to be a floor time consultant. So I will then go into family homes and say, look, let's get rid of this phone. Let's get rid of the tablet, right? We've got toilet roll, the inside, right? The cardboard bit. Last week, because he loves cars, I just cut them anyhow, because I'm thinking, I don't know what he's going to do with them. Because what it is, it's an approach where you follow the child's lead. You don't go in and say, right, this is what we're doing. Right, come and sit down. Come on. And he runs off. You drag him back. He's sitting down. If he runs off, I go behind him. I might put something here, and then he'll come back and he'll be like, you put it down. But I'm behind him. If he touches, if he's rolling the car, then I get the car and I roll it behind him. So I have to interact with him on his terms, not on my terms. Early Bird teaches you to interact on your terms because you're a parent, so it's about taking control. So this course is hard for me, right? Because I'm teaching this, but I've been told by my tutor, you're a natural, Maxine. This is going to work for you. So this little boy, I cut up these 2 tubes, right? And I done all the interaction on the floor. He came in and he stood there and he looked at me. He leaned on the settee and he was playing with the car and he was watching me on the floor, And I'm thinking, I've got it, I'm relaxing, I've got this. And then he picked up everything and he put it on the table. So then I had to follow him. And the things he'd done with those tubes, he built the tunnel, put the car in, the car wouldn't come out, I put a car in, he turned it up, I turned it up. So he started to problem solve for himself. Do you understand what I'm saying? He was using his attention together. All right? Turn taking and sharing. They do not turn take and they do not share. They don't. We have to teach them. We have to teach them. So as part of this course, we tend to involve siblings. So if there's a game, we say, right, let's do a game together. So they have to learn to take turns, right? The sibling then can say, no, it's my turn, wait. Yeah, I can say as mum, it's my turn, wait. So that's how we teach them. These are not things that they're born with. And we teach our other children, but we have to teach them, and it's harder.
Sometimes our parents say, oh, well, you know, the child is just screaming, shouting, and they won't wait to take their turn or won't share. They will just create a scene.
Yeah.
And when they create a scene, what do parents do? Oh, gosh, let me just give them. Where's the phone? Give them the phone. Give them the phone. Am I lying? That's your husband.
Because when I was on weekend work, he can't tolerate. Even last week, and I hide the remote because I know he's going to turn the TV on. They're going to sit on the YouTube.
And they watch.
So I hide it. So came back. He must have been like, "Where is it? Where is it?"
Yeah, man, the house is a wreck because
he
he
was
tried
telling
to find.
everyone if people come to our house. She went to work. She hid everything. She's expecting them to play with me, and she's screaming.
That's what you got to do.
And he said, "You better come here."
You take over.
This is, I think, why can't you do what I am doing the same thing? Because they do just sit, play puzzles and everything.
Oh, yes.
They go piece and everything. I just go with them in the basic level, do it. And why can't you do it? How long are you going to do this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I feel like you should have a little meeting with him before you do that and say, this is the plan.
But the thing is, because sometimes, but sometimes men's more accepted. I'm really sorry to say that. But
It's just
because as more female take more challenging bits, and sometimes men do cooperate, but they can't cooperate the same as the way as female do.
Well, what we have to remember is that we're maternal, okay? So I know that I've come here today and I'm going to tell you, look, you need to do this, you need to do that. And you're all going to go back and we're going to think, right, you know what, maybe we need to do things differently. Which is why sometimes it's really good that parents come together. Because there's I've come here today, and there's times I've come before, I think it was the last week I came, and I said, yeah, because there's a good cop and there's a bad cop, and the dad sat there and he pointed to the wife, he said, yeah, I'm so glad that you said that, Nancy, because I keep telling her. And she had to admit it's true, because you know, as a culture, right, because we talked about, in the last group, we talked about foods and stuff like that, which we'll talk about next time. And, you know, I would say to parents, do not, right, especially Asian mothers, do not walk around and start be feeding them like this. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. Because parents were doing that. And I said, you've got to stop it. Are you going to continue doing that when they're 16, 21? And they do it. I've seen it.
I'm doing another course, Triple P for the older children.
Yes.
And she's got children of like, I think, 8, 12 and 15.
And they're in a line, right?
I sit there. I said, what? And then another parent said, oh, I feed my child as well. I said,
it's a cultural thing, however.
So I did say, is this, they were Pakistani, these, and I've heard it from Pakistani families before.
Yes.
So I said, yes, is this cultural?
Yes.
And then they said,
but then it's like, oh, we love our kids, but
and the fatter the better. The fatter the better.
Other ways of showing your love to your child.
Yeah.
But they don't get it. They don't think of it like
They
that.
don't think
And
like
because it's handed down, isn't it?
Yeah, and also, you know, I'm really, you know, I say this with conviction because I've done the work with them. Grandparents are not good.
No.
Seriously.
They just let them have it.
Let them do it. What do you mean you don't eat chocolate? No. Come.
What?
What do you mean?
Don't eat from my hand. Don't
Yes.
eat chocolate. No.
What do you mean? What do you mean no dairy? No. Come. And I've had to train grandparents. No, seriously. and they were the worst group that I've had to train.
They must have been like, is she coming in to tell me
Yeah.
I've been doing all my
She said to me, exactly. I said to one grandmother, I think you need to just come in with your son and daughter, and then we can work together. She said, yes, no problem, no problem. The day came, she never turned up. I never expected her to turn up.
Oh.
No, because of, who am I? I've raised my children. What's wrong? There's nothing wrong with them. Right? They've had dairy, they've had this, they've had that. Where we come from, what, Maxine? No, why am I coming? I'm not doing anything wrong. Yes, Mum, but they are autistic. What is this autistic?
What do you think it's just made up? They think, oh, it's just them saying.
No, he will talk soon. He didn't talk till he was 4. He didn't talk till he was 7. There's nothing wrong with him. He's a doctor. Look.
Tick that box.
I always have these. And sometimes I go in, I think, all right, I'm going to have to put my armour on.
Because normally grandmothers are like the head of the family.
Yes.
Isn't it? Everyone.
And sometimes they say, Maxine, you coming? I'll make food for you. You like the food? No, I'm not coming to eat. We need to talk about consistency. And that's the main thing. It's about consistency for the child, because this is about the child. Yeah? So these are the social differences. So in terms of their understanding of language, their use of language, and the differences between how and why. So the children on the spectrum, this is what they don't. This is one of the things that is part of their diagnosis. Yes. So social interaction, social communication, and flexibility of thought. So they're not sure about relationships with others, adjusting behaviours, language, and sharing imaginative play. Some parents say to me, oh, now my child plays on their own, they've got a really good imagination. Right, give me an example. And I don't get an example. Yeah? So, those of us who live and or work with children and adults with autistic disorders have to try to enter their world, which is what I'm doing in this course that I'm doing, okay? Since they cannot find their way into ours. Right? So we have to enter their world, because if they come in, they come into our world because they have to. They were born into this world. Do you understand? But they've got their own world that we have to enter. Yes? We need to learn to comprehend and empathize with autistic experiences in order to find ways to help each other cope with a system of social rules that is alien to them. For example, queuing up. Right? So you were queuing at the bus stop. We used to, back in my day. But now it's a one for all, right? Everybody just like, woo! When I saw a fight nearly the other day because there was 3 buggies, right? And they only let on 2. So there was a line, and this buggy came out of nowhere, right? And push, and I hear this woman, excuse me, and I thought, do I stop to see what's going to happen? Or what do I do? This woman pushed this buggy on, she didn't care. Right? I got to get on that bus. I worked with a mum on an Early Bird Plus course. Her child's got Asperger's. He's high functioning, however, obviously got difficulties around social interaction. She used to get him to the bus stop in the morning, he'd be at the bus stop, he'd be queuing, okay? He'd be waiting for his bus, the bus comes along. Mum says to him, hold on, let the ladies go on first. So he's standing there, but he does as Mum says, he steps back. So the ladies get on. This happened for a week. So she's telling us the story, you know, right? So I'm listening to her thinking to myself, really? But all right, I'm going to allow you to continue. Then she says, yeah, so the next morning I took him earlier and we stood there and I said to him, no, let the ladies get on first, right? And I said, right, you need to stop right there because you're just getting me upset now, right? Did any of those ladies say thank you? She said, no. I said to her, the last day he got there very early, and he said to his mum, I'm first, right? I'm first, right? And I'm getting on the bus first. So Mum was like, no, but you have to let the ladies get on first. So he was like, no, because what was happening, he was letting them get on, and sometimes he wouldn't get on. He gets late for school, then the behaviour starts because he's late and he's got up early, right? So I turned to her and I said to her, look, stop trying to make him the man that you want, right? I said, Gone are the days where they're putting down their coat for you to step over and walk on the water, right? Sometimes they'll open the door for you and it's like, pow, it's back in your face. Just got to learn to live with it. I said, the queuing, I said, you need to stop doing that. I said, because you know what you're going to do? You know what's going to happen? He's going to go to the bank one day. He's going to stand in line. A lady comes in. Oh, you go first. Another lady. Oh, you go first. And I said, before you know it, it's 5 o'clock and he still hasn't been served in the bank because he's letting because he takes things literally. He's let everybody go in before him.
Because he's been taught.
Right? He's been taught that. So I said, you stop trying to make him the man that you never got. Stop it. I told her that. Yeah. And she was like, oh, I never thought of it like that. Later discovered that she's autistic. She's on the spectrum, right? So I said to her, you can't do that. The thing is, you see, when I train, I'm real. So, you know, I go very close to the edge. And parents either like it or they don't, but some of them like it because I'm very honest, right? So, we need to get into their world, guys. So you need to get into the world of your children. Yeah, all inhibitions, yeah, sitting on the floor, playing, doing stuff, you know? Eye level, be at their level, right? There's no, you know, there's nothing worse than a little child having to look up at an adult like that. You've got to come down, right? You have to. Oh, we ain't got coffee. Right, now you need to get something to drink, and then we're going to finish. What time is the question thing? Is it 12?
They finish at 12, but they can go and read it for another.
Okay. Right, because then we'll talk about the differences. So do you want to grab a thing and then we can come straight back?
Right,
Yeah.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, we'll come back. Into look. Ladies, sorry, we're on a ton of constraints here, and I just want to make sure you have an understanding of what autism is. Okay, so people on the spectrum, people who are autistic, experience the world very differently. So when we, as individuals, our senses help us to understand and respond to the world around us. Okay, so some people who are autistic may be oversensitive or undersensitive to sensory experiences, okay? So the sensory responses can be extremely variable. So for example, you've got children that like to be held tight, so they like pressure. They like you to play with their feet, but you won't know these things until you try them out, okay? They like massage, they like deep pressure, they have weighted blankets, because that helps them to sleep. All right, so you need to go back and think what is it that my child likes in terms of their sensory. All right, so the little boy I'm working with, he likes deep pressure, so I will sit on the settee. I'm sitting up next to the arm, but he wants to squeeze in between the arm of the settee, and he squeezes into between me, and he's quite happy to sit there. Then he'll go behind me and he'll put his legs in my back, and I push back on him, and he likes that. I push back on because he likes that pressure. Okay? So, on the other hand, you may get a child that you just touch them quite lightly and they smack out at you. All right? Because to them, when you touch them, that's feeling quite hard, and they don't like that. Another little boy that I was been working with, he doesn't like anybody walking behind him. Right? Because he starts to walk like this. Right, so he's not looking at what's going on. He doesn't like to be touched unexpectedly. So I might go over and say hi, and he'll be like this. Yeah, so we cannot make that assumption that all children like to be touched, like to be cuddled, like to be kissed. Yeah, we can't make that assumption. So these are our sensory experiences. Okay, so touch, taste, and sound. Some children they cannot take loud noises, so you will see children like this. Now, if we all put our hands over our ears like this and we start talking, how do I sound to you? Don't I sound quite muffled? Right? Because I sound muffled to myself. So if I'm talking to you, it sounds quite muffly. So children on the spectrum, they can't hear what you're saying. Right? They're not able to hear what you're saying. So sound is a big thing for them. Sometimes you see children on the spectrum have ear defenders on, so it blocks it out. All right? So you need to think, what is it that's making my child react to that? Taste. Right, they don't like spicy food. Right? They don't like spicy food, or they like spicy food. They like crunchy food. They don't like soft food. They don't like wet food. Mashed potatoes, no. Gravy, no. Right? Fish fingers, yes, because they like the crunchy bit on the outside. So they take out the fish in the middle and they just eat the outside. They like fruit. They like certain kinds of fruit. They like apples because they're crunchy. Bananas, no, because they're too soft. Nothing with seeds in. Okay, nothing unexpected I bake. So when I make cakes, if I put pineapple in it, you guarantee the child with the spectrum is going to take all the pineapple. He'll buy it and he'll think, take that out and carry on eating.
Will this vary from child to child depending
Varies
on
from
what their
child to
sensory
child.
is?
Yes, and that's why I'm saying that you as parents, you need to find out what it is that your child is sensitive to. Yes, you'll find sometimes children will, you know, they come in, they take off their shoes and socks. You can't get them to put, and they'll be walking on the cold floor. As parents, we say, the floor is cold, put on your socks, put on your slippers. The child with the spectrum is not interested because they like to feel their feet on the ground, right? They like to feel grounded, and that goes to a talk about having balance and body awareness, right? How many times you've got your child on, any child or child on the spectrum particularly, will just want to come and talk up into your face, right? That's what they want to get real close like that. And they haven't got no spatial awareness. All right? Sometimes you have to say, right, hold on a minute, just step back a sec, just give me some space. Because they have none of that. So they're right in your face because they want to be seen, they want to be heard. They've got no idea of what it means to, right, give that person some space.
The child be the opposite.
Yeah,
Like,
can be.
You know, they don't like someone sitting too close to them. Like,
Yeah.
can talk to me, but
Yeah, you stay over there. Yeah, but like I said, you're the ones that have to, right? The vision, yeah? You need to say, you know, sometimes you've got children on the spectrum that all they just see what's here, they can't see here. All right? They can't see at the sides. So you will notice sometimes they turn their full body to look there, or they turn their full body. You say, look over there, they'll be like this. Yeah, they're not going to go like that. All right? Smell is one as well. And this is the one that parents fall down on. As families, we have family smells. My son always told me that when you go to my dad's house, you can know. You go to my dad's house and you come out and you come here, you will always know that I've been to my dad's house. Right? Because families have smells. When we're cooking, now that's what sends these children, sometimes can really send them crazy because of the different smells in the house, the different curries, the different powders, you know, everything, the rices, everything. But you won't know that until you know your children. Sometimes these children will run under the table or run upstairs and shut the door, and when they shut the door, they've got blanket at the bottom of the door so the smell can't come in. Yeah? So you need to know what your child is about. All right.
Is it like more like all the child, or is some of them they don't have like that? Because I just want to find out, because my one doesn't mention anything. I can't see anything in the smell ways.
Yeah, but it might not be
can see.
right. Okay. Now the thing is, they're not going to have it in all areas. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So like you said, you know already in terms of touch, but for smell she's fine. Yeah. She may be fine at home, but she may go somewhere else. Yes. And also with sound, they tend to hear the things that we would never hear. Yes, that's her. Because what you know, an example of that is, you know, like you get them big oil radiators in schools, and one of the children was autistic and was sitting in there and he couldn't settle in the classroom. Teachers couldn't work that out, but there was a little dripping noise going on inside the radiator that nobody else could hear, just him, and it was really irritating him. So there's things that, you know, that we take for granted. We just say, what's that noise? Oh, okay. And we just carry it on. They're not able to filter. That's it. We filter out the things that are not important. They're not able to filter. So sometimes when they put their hands over their ears, they are filtering out the outside so that they can hear what it is that they need to hear. Yeah? Is everybody following me?
Yes.
Yeah. So you need to go home now and think about what are your sensory experiences for your children. All right? Seriously. So when they're oversensitive, objects, lights, sounds can cause confusion. So being under a light like this would be very confusing for them. Touch may be uncomfortable or painful. They prefer smooth and or bland flavour. Smells can influence contact, right? So for instance, when I was working in Waltham Forest, I worked with a speech and language therapist, and she wore the same dress every day. So I looked at her and I kept thinking, why you got that dress? Maxine, I have got 5 of these dresses, because when she's working, that's how the children are able to identify with her. She wore no perfume, because perfume sends some of those children over the edge. Yes? So just be mindful of that, because you might be wearing a perfume and you don't even realise that your child doesn't like it. You know? It's everyday things. Do you know what I mean? Right? Difficulties filling out background sounds. We've just talked about that. Screams to avoid swings and roundabouts in the park. Alright? You will see a child on the spectrum that will just walk into the line of the swing. The swing's going like this, and they will walk straight into the line of it. The roundabouts, they probably won't go on it because it's just going round and that, and it sends them round and round and round. So they're oversensitive to stuff like that. Whereas we've got other children who are on the spectrum that would sit on the roundabout all day and all night. Yeah? So these are overset. So when they're hyposensitive, so they're undersensitive to, so they've got a high pain threshold. Remember I told you about the little boy that would stand by the radiator and be burnt and it would be nothing. Yeah? They enjoy strong, spicy foods, flavours, loud sounds and noises. I did a programme a few years ago actually, and this dad said, oh, you know, he puts the TV up to 100. 100, right? So I went home because I wanted to see what 100 looked like. No, because I thought to myself, 100? Does a telly go up to 100? Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I go home and I put it up to like 7 or 8. I thought, oh, that's enough for me. So I'm saying 100. So I came back the following week. I said, you know what, that really stuck with me. So I went home and did an experiment. I said, I got as far as 10. And I said, and he has it on 100. But he has it on 100. He's not watching it. He's moving around the house. Okay. So he's not sitting down and watching it. He just wants the sound. Yes? Eaten non-edible, such as grass, soil and paper. There are some of our children that will eat those things. Yes? So, I mean, don't be alarmed. I don't mind if they eat it as long as they're eating their dinner also. And it is going to come out anyway. So they explore objects and people by sniffing or licking. You know, my little friend that I see does put his hands out, but sometimes he likes to smell me, and he said, okay, that's Maxine. Do you know what I mean? He identifies me like that. And sometimes they do lick. You know, and woe betide if you've got coconut oil on your hand. And they'll be thinking, that's not her. That's not her. I went to visit a child once, and I remember it was a summer's day. I think this is the last experience I had of like a very difficult home visit. So I went to see him, and I was sitting down with Mum, and we were talking, and he was fine. He was sitting over there, non-verbal, very slender, you know. And it was a summer's day, and I was like, oh, really nice. Sit down, having a word with Mum. Next thing I know, this child comes over and he starts to grab my hair. So I'm thinking, right, anything else but not my hair. Don't touch my hair. Right? So got it like this. And I'm like this, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm thinking to myself, why are you doing that? And his mum's quite embarrassed. Oh, no. And I said, no, leave him anyway. So I managed to release him. And then I said to her, I'll come back tomorrow. So Mum said to me, you're coming back? So I said, yeah. She said, because no social workers come back. I said, well, I'm not no social worker. I'll be back tomorrow. What time is he up? Is he going out? No. So she said, no, he'll be out. I said, that's fine, I'll see you tomorrow. So she called me and she kept saying, you're coming back? Yes, I'm coming back, right? So anyway, next day I went, jeans, trainers. I thought, no, this child is not pulling my hair today, right? He had it yesterday, he's not doing it today. Jeans, trainers, you know, more appropriately dressed. And when I went back to the office, I thought, why did he behave like that? Why did he behave like that? Because you remember I was saying you have to think about what causes the behaviours. Was it how I was dressed? What was it? And I sat down and I dissected it, and what it was is that I did not prepare him for my visit. I took it for granted that I could just walk into his house, right? I didn't give him my picture, because I always send pictures home to families. This is my picture, Maxine, and Mum prepares them. Maxine's coming tomorrow. Maxine's coming tomorrow, right? So anyway, I rock up now. He still hasn't got a picture, but I'm sure he remembers me because I remember him, right? So, so we go. I get to the door,
Yeah.
and I breathe deeply. Right, I'm thinking, I'm hoping this works this time. So I've gone in, and he kind of looked around the door. He looked at me.
How old was he?
14.
14.
Yeah. He looked at me, and then he went back. And then he came out, and Mum's standing there, and I said, right, because it's like all of a sudden now she's got to protect me, right? And I said, no, leave him. So he came over to me like this, and he went, and then he walked off. So what he did, he recognised that I was the same person that came the day before, right? She came back. They don't always come back, but she came back. So it's the same thing. I won't beat her up this time. I'll let her do what she got to do, and then she can go. And we did that, but it's really interesting, one, how he wasn't prepared for me, and two, how he was able to recognise that it was me.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And he was able to accept them. If I had come back the following week, I may have got a different reaction. But I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And when I said, I'll see you tomorrow, she was like, what? And I said, yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back.
Do you know what's reminded me of? Sorry, really quickly. I watched this program ages ago. It was like a wildlife program, and they were showing like over a long period of time, but in a half an hour program. This lady who she was saying like, I can befriend lions.
Yeah.
And how she kind of got them to trust her.
And that's what it is.
And it was like gradual interaction build up. And after like I don't know over how long a period, a week, a month or something, then they got to know her.
Yeah.
They weren't aiming for her.
Exactly.
They were still, like,
Exactly. I mean, and that was over to, I've seen him in school, and I'll go in and say, oh, Dorothy.
Yeah.
And he'll be like,
Yeah.
looking at me like he remembers, or he can, and then a couple of times he smiled, and do you know what I mean? So it is like about them being familiar, but also it's, you know, when I hear parents say, you know, he attacked me, and I said, and how old is he? He's 5. I said, your 5-year-old cannot attack you. He cannot attack you. So we need to think about the language that we use to describe our children. We need to think about the language seriously, because you know, some language that comes to me, I'll just say to them, right, okay, now let's stop right there. I said, because these are little people that we're talking about. All right, so be mindful, because labels stick. Yes.
Sometimes when they watch the TV, for example, a couple of words sometimes repeat twice, even in the one series, they pick up the stuff from there and they're fascinated on the word and they just use them in there. So how is that?
Who uses it? Who uses it? Your daughter would use the word.
Yeah, some of them.
Give me an example.
Say because of the Alpha and Omega, it's a cartoon, and they in the wolf said, Get your butt out of my face. So in the first place, I don't know where she get that from, because we never used that word.
Yes.
Then I just watched behind her and was sitting there and watching it, because I don't let her to watch so many times in one program. I know she will grasp everything from there.
Yes.
So then I realized, is that word's coming from there? Then I told her, because don't use that, it's not really good word, Harry, you shouldn't use it. But she don't really understand. Sometimes she thinks it's funny and she say it and smile.
Well, yes, because
that's what I was wondering.
now we've got to be mindful of what we expose our children to. Okay? Because, you know, the children's programs are not like children's programs I used to watch. Do you understand? And I'm showing my age, right?
It's true, because because nowadays after that, you don't have to watch straight away.
Grange Hill. So the programs are not like what we, and I'm sure, you know, back home, if you had TVs back home, the programs are not the same as what they're showing now.
This is actually a cartoon. It's on the cinemas for the Disney cartoon.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, the stuff now is very different to what we were watching when we were growing up. You understand? So the thing is, children will pick up things from the TV. Just like a dad I'm working with at the moment, he's got his child, a 16-year-old game. The child's 10. And he justified it by saying, you know, but I sit down next to him and I play it. I said, but he's 10 though.
Do you mean video game?
Yeah, that Fortnite thing.
Oh God.
He's 10.
So many
But the thing is, the child exposed him, you see. No, he didn't know that I knew, right? So when the child told me, see, this is my game, this is me, so I turned it round, he's 16, okay, right, okay. Next time I saw the dad, I said, why has he got that? Why? Because the thing is, we as adults have to take control as to what our children are watching, what they're doing, what they pick up. right? Because I'm telling you now, if a child goes to school and says an inappropriate word, right, in context, not out of context, in context, right, you know you're going to get Maxine knocking on your door as a social worker. Forget the autism part of it. So we have to take responsibilities as adults. Yeah? Parenting is tough, right? I'm not going to stand there and say it's easy. It's a tough game, right? And there's no book for us to get it right. It's trial and error. Yeah? It's trial and error. But you have to stand firm. That's all I will say. So you've got some that always want squeezy cuddles, and some that sniff and lick other people and objects.
Can you get children that have display both?
Yeah, you can get them displaying all kinds of things. Yeah. So the sensory balance helps them to reduce anxiety, right? Make better sense of the world, interact and communicate more easily, and learn more successfully. All right? So we need to get the right balance for our children. That's why I'm saying to you, you guys need to go home and look at what it is in terms of sensory. And that's what I want you to bring back. You've asked me to change my date, so I need to make sure. You better bring me back some stuff when I come.
Homework.
Yeah?
Homework.
You've asked me to change my date and you've got longer now to do this. And the reason I'm giving it to you is because you've got the half term, so you're going to have the children all day, so it's going to be very different. Yes? So you need to make sure that you look at their sensory things. You look if they're putting their hands over their ears. You look if you give them something and they smell it first or they lick it. Yes? The reason I say that is because sometimes you may present something new on a plate and they're going to look at it and they might push it away, they might pick it up, they might lick it, say no and push it away, right? Because that's what we've got to do all the time, is give them different things, expose them to different things. You cannot give them the same fish fingers until they're 20 and they're going to take off the outside and eat the outside and leave the middle. Yeah? So when people say to me, oh, he doesn't eat, I said, have you tried it? No, he doesn't like it. I did it once. No, consistency, persistency. You do it all the time, every so often. Yeah, you drop it on the plate. You have to. You have to. Yeah? Everyone with me? Right, that's the end of that. So, do people have an understanding of what autism is now? So you've taken into consideration the sensory needs and everything. So when we come back and we look at behaviours, we would have had an understanding. So you might say to me, Mohammed, you might say, oh, Maxine, you know what? When we went away, he was eating the grass. Why is that? He never ate grass before. Do you know what I mean? My response would be, right, okay, why do people think he ate grass? Why do you think people eat grass?
Different taste.
Different taste, different country, different colour. Because the grass, right now the grass here ain't looking nice, right? Yeah. You go somewhere else, the grass is green and pretty. It could be something as simple as that.
Is it their way of understanding the world?
Understanding their surroundings.
Analysing.
And making sense, that's exactly it. Differences experience in the world.
Most autistic people have difficulties in understanding the unsaid social cues. Some people with autism thrive on repetitive behavior. They may enjoy doing the same thing over and over. You may find autistic people talk about one certain subject and they are fascinated with over and over again. Many autistic people are very direct in their way of thinking and in their way of communicating and their way of talking. Sometimes this can cause offense. They have difficulty understanding double meanings and sarcasm. The main issue with people with autism is that it's very difficult for them to establish and maintain friendships. They find it very difficult to initiate social interaction. It is not because they do not want it. It is that they do not know how to. It's estimated that 40 to 50% of children who have autism are bullied. Did you know that there are many famous people with autism? Persons like Daryl Hannah, who starred in Kill Bill and Splash, Dan Aykroyd, who wrote and created Ghostbusters. Other well-known people who are thought to have had autism include Albert Einstein, artist Andy Warhol, the composer Mozart, and the director Stanley Kubrick. Another well-known person believed to have autism is Bill Gates. Many autistic people have a very high IQ, but but this is not true for all autistic people. Not all autistic people are like common myths about people with autism is that they are rude, uncaring, aloof, not empathetic, unsympathetic, cold, but none of these things are true. Autistic people have a different way of understanding and expressing emotion. The sooner that we understand this, the sooner we can help the very many autistic people around us every day, help them to have happier lives, healthier lives, and more social lives. Our son Jeremiah was diagnosed with high-functioning autism when he was 3 years old. I will admit that out of the two of us, I was the parent that was in denial. I didn't want to accept this life sentence that was given to my son. Jeremiah's autism has blessed him with many abilities. For example, he's been able to read from the age of 2. He has the ability to read words that are well beyond his reading age. He can read newspapers, magazines, road signs, sometimes on the television. He can even memorize entire books. But his autism does not come without difficulties. Difficulties that, as his parents, we are still trying to learn, to accept and to understand. We believe as parents it is our responsibility to educate as many people as we can about autism. Not only for our own son, but for all the other autistic men and women and children out there. Because all we want to do in this life is to understand and to be understood. What does that say?
For me, it's more about, the education and the awareness of, the greater population, especially Caribbean people. We need to wake up, we need to see that it's something that affects, it doesn't have no race, color, or creed. But in these, there are ways where we can work together by accepting that this is in our community and being aware of how we can assist and help and make it easier for kids, adults, teenagers, because there are people who are growing up with this. Because with each family, with each individual, there's differences in what they would experience. So it's for us to accept that these differences will be there and for us to try to make their lives easier, try to make their dreams come true. Because a lot of these kids, they would be able to go to mainstream school, they will be able to achieve their dreams. But sometimes it's us who hold them back by us not accepting that they are capable of doing these things. So believe that they could achieve. Autism awareness, acceptance is a must.
So, you may ask, are we sad that our son has autism? The answer is, we see that Jiraiya has come to us as a gift. And we must expand our minds into a new way of thinking. That actually does not have a disability, but an incredible ability.
What do you think about that? It's called Dreams for Our Children, I think. Dreams for Our Children. Dreams for... It's on YouTube. Dreams for Our Children. So it's a very good. And there's also another one which is a short one. I'll show you because I think it's important, especially for children and siblings. Yes, for you to share with the siblings. Let's make sure.
On the top of the middle.
Nice. This one. Oh, I'm not coming. Oh. Animate, yeah. Sorry, right. That one you could look on YouTube as well. It's called Animated Explanation of Autism. And it talks about differences, which is good. So, you know, you can share that with siblings. So have a look at that. And maybe you can show grandparents as well if they're misbehaving. Yeah? Right, we've got about 10, 15 minutes. Any questions about this morning? Any questions about this morning? Was it covered? Yeah? You sure? Anything that you want me to go over?
The last session, you guys asked us to think of questions to ask you.
Yeah.
But do you want us to ask you these questions the next time we see you?
It depends. I mean, we've got time now, so you can ask some. And if anything we can cover, we can, you know, we'll be able to cover more next time. But, you know, if I can't answer it now, then I'll make sure I come back with the information next time. Next time when I come, I'll bring stuff for you to take away, right? And I'll bring some books as well. About autism. I've got Asperger's books, I've got, you know, what is autism, a basic book and stuff like that. So this table will probably be full the next time I come. And I'll bring you some strategies and stuff like the timers, which are invaluable. Seriously, because children's concept of time is abstract.
Yes.
Yes. So when we've got a 3-minute timer, yes. Sit down for 3 minutes. Give me 3 minutes, let me finish cooking this dinner, and then I'll be finished. But you know what? It tests you as well. You better be ready in 3 minutes because they will come back and say to you, 3 minutes is finished. Yeah? So these are invaluable.
Can you get longer timers?
You can go up to half an hour. You can go up to an hour, I think.
Where did you get
But
this from?
these ones you got off Amazon.
Okay.
Okay? You can get sets or you can get them individually. The thing is, be realistic, okay? So your 13-year-old might want a 5-minute timer, or you want to get a 15-minute timer. Yeah? So it's a minute per age. All right? So you can use it for any child.
Sometimes
I
it's
use it
very
for my
cheap.
husband. Time out
Sometimes it's very cheap. Sometimes you turn it off quickly, you know that it's going to run out.
A minute per age.
I should have one at 54 minutes.
That's not your age. When you say a minute per year of the age, what do you mean by that?
So if they're 5 years old, 5 minutes.
But why? Why that?
Because it's a minute. They've got 5 minutes is the time that you will ask a child to sit down.
Okay.
But if the child's got autism and you're just starting, you've got minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minutes. I think I've got up to 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I lend them out and parents never give them back. So,
Because
they're invaluable. So it really just depends on what your child's understanding. You know, how many times we said, give me 5 minutes, just give me 5 minutes. What does 5 minutes look like?
Yeah, the concept.
I did a training in a children's home, and these were adolescent boys, right? 15, 16, and you know, when a child comes into a home, they have to be registered. And all the time the staff said to me, the one thing I'm taking away is a timer. Because she said the amount of times that they're by the door and we say, right, wait a minute. And they sit outside and they're waiting, right? I said, if you put a 15-minute timer up there and say, look, when this time is finished, then I'll come and deal with you. They won't harass you all the time. Because what they do, they'll knock the door.
Yeah.
Are you going to see me yet, miss? Are you going to see me yet? And they'll say, no, give me 5 minutes. Are you going to see me yet, miss? Are you going to see me yet? You say to them, right, I've got 15 minutes because I need to get myself together. When this is finished, then we can have a talk. When this is finished, they're going to knock once. They're not going to knock all the time. That's a difference, and it makes it easier.
It's visual.
Yeah, and it's visual, exactly. And in terms of visual, these are stuff that a parent did on this course. She made these herself, right? Because she went home, decided what was okay for her child to understand. So during the holidays, she'd had a packed program. So we'd get up at this time, we'd do this by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10. So she did it by the hour because that's what her child understands. And this one is the morning routine. So this is what they got to do before they go to school. And she's got an evening routine somewhere around here. And you know, she went home and thought, right, in terms of visual structure, in terms of my child knowing what to do and what my child needs to know what's expected of them. If you put it on paper, as far as they're concerned, it's supposed to happen. If you've got the creative children, you can, if you involve them in this, they will follow it. Seriously, they will follow it. Right? But you need to know the understanding of your child. I know a dad did one the other day on the back of a cornflake box. I thought it was amazing. No, I said, you need to send me that picture. Send me, and I didn't even bring it. I'm going to download it next time.
Yeah.
But he had what the task was, what the time was, right? And what they had to, the day, the task, the time. And he had a little drawing, brush my teeth, wake up, 6:45, right? And I asked the children, and I'm standing there and I'm like, right, what have you got to do at 7:45? Be downstairs and breakfast. They knew everything. They were Asperger's, so they were talk, like, no social skills. But they thought it was amazing, and they knew. So he did it according to their ability and their understanding. So you need to do it according to their ability and understanding, is what I'm saying. Yeah? Any other questions? No? Right, so we'll see you March the 1st, right, on time, with loads of bits and pieces, and then we're going to go through behaviours. Yeah? Great. All right. Thank you, everyone.